Hello! As you can see from the scene behind me, I did not make a lot of progress on cleaning up my sewing room. I got it to the point though where I felt okay creating in it, and that's what I needed. So now I'm back to sewing and creating. You may also notice there's a little bit more lens glare. My husband ordered a ring light, sort of a surprise for me, but also maybe he wants to make some videos too, so that would be awesome of him. I don't have a tripod for it yet, so right now it's actually leaning on some boxes because I am the queen of jinky setups. Today we are not working on hexadecimal because my allotted time for her has been used up. I'm still working on her during my work days, but for my actual days off I need to start focusing on the next things, which this time is Queen Serenity. This is a dress that I picked up from work. It was on the $99 sale. Already has a cute little bow on the back. I need to create a bow for the front though, and then in the center of that goes this, which I made out of Sculpey clay and gold spray paint. So I don't have an exact match for this material, and unfortunately I don't need to do any alterations on the dress itself, so I won't have any spare material to work with. So what I do have is, well, I have some options. There's this length of satin ribbon that I could use. It's, as you can see, much shinier than the file material that the dress is, but that might actually work out. Actually, I don't need to show the others. I think that's just what I'm going to do, because the other ones are a little bit more on the beige side of ivory as opposed to the ivory that this dress is. So then what I'm going to do is cut off, so sash has some beadwork on it, so I'm going to cut off those bits where the beadwork is and maybe use the beads for something else. And then I'm realizing that this ribbon needs to be cleaned before I actually use it for anything. So I might have to actually move on to a different project for the time being, which, I mean, that's not the worst thing, but let me get this soaking first and then I'll figure out what I'm doing and I'll be back with you. Alright, so instead of working on Queen Serenity, I'm going to move on to my next project, which is, it's a joint costume with two different groups. One is the But Ugly Brigade, which is actually a really cool thing. It formed from somebody overhearing someone else talking about their costume and saying, oh my god, that fabric is but ugly. And so it's a group concept that kind of embraces that and says, you know what, yeah, I worked really hard on it though, and don't say stuff about it. Like, you know, that if you can't say something nice, then don't say anything. So I have my leftover bones from my stays, but I might need something stronger, because essentially my idea is like your basic short, mostly fitted dress, and then around the hips a spherical hoop skirt, I guess you would call it, and then probably attached by some sort of elasticy suspenders or something so it does actually bounce when I move. So I do have spring steel bones that I can play with for that as well. And I think that might actually be what I wind up doing, which means that I'm going to have to bust out a Dremel tool, but it's a really nice day outside, so I do not feel bad about doing that. So I guess if you want to sit with me while I do some quick math, I can figure out what dimensions I want these hoops to be to get a good sphere. And for that I would like to have the bullet journal I've been working with. So I'm going to start a new page in here, because it's really good for just keeping track of your life. This is page 11. I started this May 1st. This is going to be bouncing ball, and then I'm going to say dimensions over here, because I want this area here to be the actual like list of steps to create it. So right here I need my sphere dimensions. So I'm not sure how big around I actually want it, but I am going to use this to figure that out, because it'll at least hold the right shape while I do that. Because I don't want it like insanely large, but I also don't want it just to conform to my body. Because if it's not wide enough, then it's not going to come off as a sphere. I think that should do it. Let's see if I've got enough tape measure here. And as usual, I'm not being totally precise with this. So that's 60. $76, that's the spirit. So if I need 76 inches plus a little bit of overlap so I can bind them at the end, so I'm probably going to go for, let's call it 80. And because this one is the center point, I'm going to use the thicker spring steel from a hoop skirt. Be very careful anytime you're unwinding spring steel, because it wants to stay in a straight line. That's part of why it's so great for like Victorian corsets. But that means that it does want to spring back into shape. So if you've got it coiled like this, which I have secured with a zip tie, like if I just cut that zip tie, then I may as well put my put my own eye out. So I'm going to measure out 76 inches here, and I will mark it with a Sharpie. Yes, there's a Sharpie. Sorry, 80 inches. So there's 60. Approximately 80. All right, and then what I need to do is take it outside and Dremel through it. And then I'm gonna have to wrap it in some tape. But then I'll have my center point for my sphere. So I'll take care of that and I'll be right back. Well, that turned into way more adventure than I bargained for. I couldn't find our Dremel, and I texted my husband Jody to see if he knew where it was, because he's been doing a lot more crafting lately. He didn't know, thought maybe it was somewhere in the pile of stuff behind his desk, which you thought my sewing room was bad. The stuff behind his desk is like mountains of random cables and memorabilia and LARP equipment and things. So I spent a good while digging through all of that, found both of our Dremel tools, because we had bought one to replace the one that we thought we had lost 2 moves back, but found it, used it, got myself my 80 inches, and then I'm going to overlap this just a little bit. I ground down the edges a little bit too, so that if this does come undone, I'm not going to get skewered. And the ends I'm just going to wrap in duct tape. Ideally it would be plastic tubing or something like that, but I don't have that handy. So I'm just going to tape it up, pray for the best. It doesn't have to last forever, just has to last. This is going to be fun to pack, but I'm pretty sure it's big enough for my suitcase. But yeah, it just has to last for an evening. I'm sure I've got good several layers of tape on there. Ta-da! First sphere is done, and then that can actually support the other spheres, so I don't think I need to go all the way spring steel with the rest. I do want to figure out how tall this needs to be, which should be approximately the circumference, less a couple of inches top and bottom, because we're not doing a full sphere because my torso and legs still have to go somewhere. So this is a 25-inch diameter circle, which means probably want to go up to 20 inches, which means I need to do some geometry. Stuff I haven't used since high school. I'm not actually sure how to do this. If you know a quick and easy way of figuring out the diameter of a cross-section of a sphere at any given point, please let me know. I might hold off on this until after I figure that out, which is another project that is going on hold today. Maybe it's just not a good project day and I should try again on Friday, because that's my next day off. I'm gonna figure out some quick math, see if I can do it on my own, and I'll be back in a couple minutes, hopefully. I was trying to overcomplicate things. What I've determined is that my top and bottom circles need to be 43 inches. That way they can fit over my hips, and that way I can take the skirt, well, the hoop bit off and on without any difficulty. I am going to use my thinner spring steel for this, just because the top and bottom also need to be very good solid circles, and I think in between I can fill with the plastic boning. So I need 43 plus a couple of inches again for overlap, so 46 inches. And I'm just pulling this through my zip tie instead of undoing my zip tie entirely, because once again, spring steel loves to uncoil, and you can see even being coiled up for years, it's perfectly straight. So tape measure 46. And I used this for some past corseting. The first time, in fact, that I tried to make stays, this is what I used, and it wound up stabbing me in the thighs a lot, to the point where I had to put foam padding on the inside of my tabs. So not recommended unless you know exactly what you are doing. Now, where did I put my Sharpie? Right here. Alright, I've got that marked. And then it's back out to the Dremel to cut it, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, I cut out my top and bottom. Just need to tape those ends together. You can see this is much smaller than the center one, which is exactly what I wanted. Yeah, this I guess has been a lesson in, if something doesn't go right, then don't let it ruin your day, just move on to the next thing, because it's all got to get done. So just overlapping these about 1.5 inches, and then again using many layers of tape to make sure that it's not going to come unsprung in the middle of bouncing around the Friday night social at Costume College. Yay! It holds. See, I don't have anything specific to talk about today, just basically going through this process. I know I've been thinking out loud to get it done, which I think is really important. Kind of helps me get my thoughts together. Like, if I hadn't been talking about, okay, how the heck do I figure out the circumference that I would need, then I wouldn't have realized that, oh, the circumference I need is the one that's gonna fit. And then that's going to tell me how far away these are, because I still want it to be circular. So yeah, it's shaping up. Top and bottom hoops. And just need to verify. Yes, they do fit over my hips, not too much space to give. So we got these 3, and then I just need, well, I need more circles in between. I need bands to kind of string them all together, much like a cage crinoline would do. Yeah, it's getting there. So next I need to figure out what kind of circle, let me move you down so you can see, what kind of circle is going to go in between the biggest and the smallest. The diameter on the smallest turned out to be about 14 and a half. So 25 minus 14 and a half is 10 and a half. And this is math that I can do. Half of 10 and a half is 5 and a quarter. I'm just gonna call it 5. So if I need a circle with a diameter of 5, C equals pi times d, and pi times 5, 3.1415-ish, 5. I'm actually writing this all in my to-do list section, which means I'm gonna have to move that down, I guess. It'll be kind of fun to have these notes in the future. My dad used to yell at me doing math for actually writing the carryovers and everything. So like, well, what if you have 2 digits? Then you've got to write over the top of those. So I'm looking at about 15 3/4. I can do that. That's not right at all. That is, I know what I did. I need to add 5 to the 14.5 to get 19.5. So yes, here's where we have multiple digits to multiply. So again, 3.1415, 19.500, so there's a 0, there's a 0, and then 5 times 5. Because with multiplication, every time you move over to the next digit, you start out with a 0 and then do add. 25, 7, yeah, 20. Right. It's really hard to do math and talk at the same time. Another 7, 15, 3 zeros, 45. And see, here's where I have multiple digits that I have to carry over on. 9 plus 4 is 13. I'm just writing it darker over the top, and then I'll probably just cross those out and write them on top of those. Zeros, but this is the easy one where it's just 5, 1, 4, 1, 3, and then we add. That worked out nicely. That worked out exactly how I knew it was going to work out. I am dumb sometimes. Because I didn't have to put the extra zeros after the 0.5. I just have to make sure I know how many in the original problem or after the decimal. It's been a long time since I've done math on paper. We have calculators in our phones now. 6, 7, 8, 12, 11, 6. So instead of 5, I've added 2 more. So 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 61.25. Yes. Okay. So I need 2 at 61.25. Can I get those out of this? I can probably only get 1. So 1 at about there. If that's my halfway point, they are not even. All right. So scrap the idea of using plastic in this. It's gonna be all steel, baby. Oh yeah. And if you want to see a picture of my notes, I guess comment it or something. I'll post it up on the Facebook group. There is a Your Sewing Buddy Facebook page in case you're interested. Just mostly it's just notifications. Hey, I put up a new video. Come check it out. I also have my Instagram and my Twitter at Dalareyan. DALAREYN. You can also get in touch with me at dalareyan@gmail.com and so on and so forth. And I would love to see things that you're working on. I left my Sharpie right here instead of outside like I thought I did. Things you're working on, things you want me to talk about. Yes, I have been opening that with my teeth. It's a bad habit, but I only have 2 hands. And it's much better than leaving the cap off on a Sharpie on your carpet, which is a rental apartment. Because when you do that, you don't get your deposit back. And while we're here, I'm just gonna mark out the next one. Hopefully I only need these 2 more. If I wind up needing more, then I might have to do one in plastic. Or if the next ones are smaller, I could do them in plastic. That's overthinking for something that isn't a thing yet. I think this is actually going to be a lot of fun to wear. I still have to figure out how exactly I'm structuring the suspension, the suspendery bit, but it'll be fun. And I know we've got a white rabbit and a will-o-wisp. That is not nearly 60 yet. I think we have a white stag too. I'm not positive on that. Excuse me. There's a 60. It says 61.25. I'm doing pretty much the full length of my measuring tape because the numbers stop at 60 and then it goes for a little bit longer. And again, we have that overlap. All right, so that's all set for cutting and unsharpening. I think this is actually going to be good. I also think we maybe have talked enough for today. There's not a lot else going on in my life. I will insert here a photo of me in the dress that I got for my Queen Serenity cosplay. so you can see how it's almost like the designer meant it for that.
The top, the bow, the fit, it's gorgeous.
But other than that, I think we're good for today. Thank you for joining me again. I hope you got some stuff done and weren't just sitting here watching me play with spring steel and Sharpies and things and struggle with math. I will be back on a weekly schedule. I know I took a little bit of, well, I took a week off after LARP, and then LARP happened again. I took another week off. That's probably going to be a thing. If I have a LARP game that weekend, Tuesdays are going to be a struggle to get a video out. But I will do my best. I actually really dig the new lighting situation, even though it does give me weird circles on my glasses. It works. You shouldn't be watching me anyway. You should be doing something crafty. And on that note, go make something, create something beautiful, and I will talk to you later.